welcome back to our Kidlife Lead Small training. Thank you for joining us for our next set of videos. As for these next couple of weeks, we walk through what does it mean to do this really well and help kids to find real faith and ultimately help their families to find real faith. We want you to understand that the ripple effect you will have, not just in a child, but in a family, can never be overstated. We will never fully know what it is that God will do through your commitment to this child and ultimately this family. Now, today we're gonna walk through what does it mean to create a safe space. What does that look like for you as a small group leader? And this is a vital component because if our kids and our students don't feel safe, they're never going to find a way to grow in their faith. We would say that we want them to clarify their faith as they grow. And as we've said before, this means we're talking a safe space spiritually, mentally, and physically. That we believe that this is a space where they come ready to hear the story that God has for their lives. And that space, as we've talked about, is illustrated by this yellowish ring around your circle, because this isn't just something you do. This is something we as a church and a team come alongside you to help you create in a way that is impactful and effective. Now, let's not forget the plan that we're walking through. Now, you joined us last week, and hopefully you've had a chance now to sit with a group and see what Kidlife is all about and start to get a feel for how this works. But most importantly, as we ask you to commit, we're asking a family to commit, and then we are asking you to connect with a home, which is vitally important, and that parent, which we'll talk about. And then we're asking you to connect to that child and ultimately to that small group to build that relationship that we know God is going to use to further His kingdom beyond anything we could ever ask or even understand. And so thank you for the opportunity today. And so if you would, check out this short video about what does it mean to create a safe space, and then we will come back and talk a little bit more about what does this mean in the context of Kidlife.
As important as showing up and being present for your group is, your job as a small group leader doesn't stop there. In ancient times, officials would carve roses into the ceilings of political conference areas and would designate the conversations in those rooms as sub rosa, which meant under the rose. It was a way of saying that what happens in this room stays in this room. The idea was meant to encourage open conversation because the space could be seen as a safe one. And after time passed, the roses came to symbolize this safe space so effectively that they were even carved into the interior of confessional booths where people came to talk to priests. To be sub rosa meant that you could be open and honest. It meant that you could trust the people you were talking to. And this needs to be true of your small group too. Part of your job as a small group leader is to give kids and teenagers a safe place to speak freely, process their doubts, wrestle with questions, and talk about their issues and ideas. Creating a safe place isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time for kids and teenagers to learn how to trust you and the other group members. Trust is an investment. It's something that we have to mutually earn. And while we can't promise that it'll happen immediately, we can promise that these 3 strategies will help to guide you towards it. First, lead the group. Now that may sound like a given, seeing as you're the small group leader, but it's worth explaining. You are responsible for the dynamic and discussions in the group. You set the tone, you navigate the current, and that's especially true when it comes to tension. Tension is inevitable. And while you may feel the temptation to lean away from it, the truth is that tension isn't a bad thing. It's natural, and it's meant to be engaged with. So leverage the tension, lean into it, and teach your few to learn from it. Tension is a result of our differences, and our differences are just opportunities to demonstrate unconditional love. If your group is a safe place for differences and tensions to be expressed and navigated, then your few will learn how to show up for other people. They'll learn how powerful it is to accept others and to be accepted by them. So lean into those tensions. In other words, lead the group. Second, respect the process. Like we said before, establishing that your group is a safe place isn't something that happens overnight. You're contending with different personalities, different temperaments, different backgrounds, and different beliefs that fall on a wide spectrum. And if you got into this thing because you wanted to change people, then you're going to end up exhausted and even discouraged. The truth is that it isn't up to us to change people. We aren't God, we aren't the Holy Spirit. God is the one who changes us. The Holy Spirit is the one who refines us. We can't change everyone. We can't even change anyone, but we can love a few. The Bible doesn't say to change your neighbor as yourself. It says to love your neighbor. And love is a process. Change is a process. God's work in your few is a process. So respect the process. And third, guard the heart. Now, it may feel like I'm about to contradict the first point, but the unfortunate truth is that the work of creating a safe place for your group may require you to break their trust. While we can all hope for the best where our few are concerned, the truth is that the kids and teenagers in our groups are hurting. They're going through things that we may not be fully equipped to understand or even deal with. And when kids are experiencing one of the three hurts, being hurt, hurting others, or hurting themselves, it's essential to guard their heart at the expense of breaking their confidence. Our church has policies in place to help direct us when these kinds of things happen, and sometimes trust has to be broken in order to protect our kids. It isn't an easy decision to make, but it's a necessary one. Leading your group takes work. Respecting the process takes time. Guarding the heart takes effort. But when you create a safe place inside of your group, you give your few opportunities to grow and learn. They deserve the chance to sit in a space where they're accepted, where their ideas are safe, and where honesty is valued. So model those things for your few. Celebrate everyone equally. Shut down gossip. If individual issues arise, address them privately, and then give your few the chance to do those things themselves. The truth is that if your few can't be their Monday through Saturday selves when they're with you in group, they'll have a hard time applying their faith in everyday situations. If they can't share their doubts in community, they'll dwell on them privately. If they can't ask you their questions, they're going to ask someone else. And if they don't admit their struggles to someone, they'll never experience the power of bringing things to light in a way that facilitates freedom and forgiveness. So create a safe place for your few and give them the gift of a space where they can be themselves and expect acceptance, honesty, protection, and love.
Man, we can never understate the importance of what you just heard. This valuable component of leading small that means to create a safe space. And as we would say, giving our kids and our students the opportunity to clarify their faith as they grow in a space that they feel comfortable to do that. Now, let me reinforce something. This is a process, and you connecting with a small group doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I can tell you this myself, that I've been connecting with kids for a long time. In fact, there's one particular little girl that I see every week, multiple times every week. And we're continuing to build that relationship, and I see her consistently, and she knows that this is a safe space. But just the other day, for the first time, you know what she did? She gave me a high five. Now that may sound like something insignificant, but that had never happened before, because it took time and it took consistency for me to break down the walls where she felt safe to be around me, or really a lot of adults. And that's the kind of commitment we're asking from you. And so as we think about what does it mean to create a safe space, we want you to understand something. You are not in this alone, nor are you expected to do this alone. And they mentioned in the video, understand your church's policies. Here's our policy in a nutshell. If you see something, say something. If you are worried about something, tell your leader. Tell one of the leaders around you, do not go it alone. In fact, it is not your place to do that. It is your place to love on and lead that small group. And if you ever hear, as they said, a child expressing one of those hurts, whether they've been hurt or they're thinking about hurting someone else, you have to say something. And you have to let us step in and start to carry that burden for you. Now, we want you to be a part of that process, and we hope you've built that relationship to be a part of that process, but that is not for you to carry. That is not what we are asking you to sign up for. We are asking you to build that relationship, so as those hurts may come to light, you can speak into those, but you are not in that alone, and that's why Real Life has amazing services and resources to offer these families. through counseling, through prayer, through discernment, through discipleship, that we get to walk alongside them and connect them to something more and connect them to you. But that only happens because you've created a safe space. So let's think about a few things that we want you to consider as we wrap up this video. First, as they clarify their faith, have you seen someone handle doubt and questions well? This is gonna be huge because no matter what the age, whether you're dealing with preschoolers or you're dealing with fifth graders, kids are gonna ask some crazy questions and your reaction to those is gonna be huge. So how have you seen somebody handle that well? Second, what will guarding the heart look like for your few? What will it mean for you to create a safe space and make sure that they feel safe there? And finally, what are the steps you need to take if one of your few were being hurt, hurting others, or hurting themselves? Now, we talked about that a little bit, but let's just answer that question once again because we cannot overstate this enough. The first step you're gonna take is to tell somebody, to let us know that you have seen something that may concern you, because we may already be aware of things going on in that family, in the life of that family. Second, pray for them. I mean, we can never, ever tell you how much the prayer that you give means in the life of that family and the impact that that has. So pray for them. And finally, continue to create a safe space for everyone. And if a child is ever in a space that is unsafe, we need to know right away, and we want to be a part of making that a safe space for your entire group, because that is what it means to be part of a safe space. Now, hopefully this has been helpful to you in understanding the commitment that we are asking, but we've got a few more videos over these next few weeks that we would love for you to watch and start to understand, what does this commitment you're making really mean? Thank you so much for being a part of today's video, and don't forget, God's crazy about you.